Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham will attend the opening of the Sandals Corporate University in Ocho Rios, Jamaica tomorrow. Mr. Ingraham will join the 3 prime ministers from the region where Sandals operates properties. Sandals employs 1,200 Bahamians between Balmoral in Nassau, Emerald Bay in Exuma, and Foul Key in the Exuma Keys. Bahamian staff of Sandals will train at this institute, the first of its kind in the Caribbean. The SCU will certify staff members currently without formal academic qualifications and provide qualified team members with an avenue to advance their education. The programs are being offered through partnerships with internationally recognized Ryerson University in Canada, Western Hospitality Institute in Jamaica, and the Jamaica Foundation for Lifelong Learning, which will provide classes in mathematics and English for those in pursuit of high school equivalency. Prime Minister Ingraham will return to Nassau on Thursday, March 22nd. Deputy Prime Minister the Honorable Brent Simonet will act as Prime Minister during Mr. Ingraham's absence. Debate on the Freedom of Information bill wrapped up in the House of Assembly yesterday evening following a vigorous debate. Janaea Noel Ferguson has the highlights.
As he moved for the second reading of the bill, Minister of the Environment Dr. Earl DeVoe said no extensive summary can underscore the fact that the Freedom of Information Act will not control significant forms of communications.
All the business we do is not everybody's business. There are some things that are confidential and should remain confidential. That doesn't mean they're secret or they're part of a cronyism program. But certainly what that individual did when he downloaded all that information and created WikiLeaks was not in the best interest of democracy.
In contributing to the debate, MP for Marcos City Finance Minister Shivarga Lang sought to assure members of the financial services industry by explaining that many records related to this sector will remain confidential under the Act.
Where the law has such privileged information and confidentiality today, that privilege and confidentiality is preserved by the Freedom of Information Act. So that it don't make sense for you to be trying to get at people's business information or accounts information, etc., by virtue of the fact that the member of the board or director of the place sits on the Securities Commission and you put in an application.
Meanwhile, Michael MP V. Alfred Gray says there must be a commitment by all public figures to leave the proper records in place. Leader of the opposition, Perry Christie, closed out debate for the opposition and noted that while the bill is a good step, it does, however, have its challenges.
Yes, transparency, accountability, giving Bahamians access to the information they would need ought to go a long way towards cutting off some of the talk, some of the rumors, some of the challenges that we face in public life, where people will have access to these things and they will be able to see it. To that extent, our society will mature. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we obviously must anticipate that it is a huge weapon.
Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
During his wrap-up of the Freedom of Information bill, opposition leader Perry Christie also responded to claims by Golden Isles MP Charles Maynard on the validity of the now-cancelled YEAST program, which was based in Andros, and the controversial Urban Renewal program. According to Mr. Maynard, the YEAST program could have been carried out more effectively, and the origin of the Urban Renewal program couldn't be traced.
There's no amount of money, that's too much money to spend on young people. But after 4 months, there's no follow-up, there's no way of directing those young men towards any positive reinforcement program. You send them right back to the part of society that they came from and hope for the best for them. We thought that there was better ways of spending that $1 million in pursuit of the same kind of things and more. The reality of the Urban Renewal program is it was never a program. It was something that they was making up as they going along. You see, if it was such a substantial part of their vision, then where was it first documented? You know, anytime you have a vision, it has to be documented someplace, somewhere. Ahead of time. In Manifesto 2007, it says there shall be a self-starter program. Well, by 2008, we had a self-starter program. So it was documented someplace and executed. Where was this urban renewal documented?
Now here's how Mr. Christie responded.
Young people in our country who are in an environment where they cannot be controlled, hence the genesis of urban renewal. And urban renewal, Mr. Speaker, if you're looking for reports, and what is very clear, and what I want to tell you, what is very clear, I'm happy the Freedom of Information will produce it. There are volumes of report written on urban renewal by Dr. David Allen, by Ms. Jewel Major, by Dr. Desiree Cox, the Rhodes Scholar, where she did research, volumes of work done on that, indicating that research that the government of the Bahamas ought to have continued to build on. But it wasn't, right? Because it became a political football.
Now, in relation to the bill, Mr. Maynard said it'll be interesting to see which group makes most use of the bill, the media, average citizens, or politicians. Either way, he says, it's good to know that access is available to whoever wants it. Speaker of the House of Assembly Alvin Smith during last evening's session demanded an apology from St. Thomas More MP Frank Smith for his behavior in the House more than a week ago. At that time, the St. Thomas More MP reportedly tussled with Pine Ridge MP Kwesi Thompson over a microphone as the opposition protested his tabling of a report on the road infrastructure project. Well, it took a while, but Smith finally apologized yesterday at the Speaker's prompting.
You have to apologize to this House, to this Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize because I'm instructed to apologize. I do not feel that I've done anything.
Honorable member,
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, the apology has to be unequivocal.
Genuine. Mr. Speaker, I apologize and move on.
In other news tonight, former police corporal Donovan Gardner will have to wait a bit longer to find out if the court will quash his manslaughter conviction. A jury convicted Gardner 2 weeks ago of the manslaughter death of 28-year-old Desmond Key. But Gardner's attorney, Wayne Monroe, immediately filed a constitutional motion and applied for him to receive bail pending the hearing of that motion. The court denied him bail and he remains on remand at Fox Hill Prison. During today's hearing, Monroe asked the court to quash the jury's verdict, suggesting Gardner's rights have been violated because prosecutors didn't provide him with key documents in the case. But prosecutor Linda Evans disagreed, saying full disclosure did take place in an effort to ensure Gardner received a fair trial. Justice Vera Watkins will give her decision on May 1st.
Welcome to tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Let's take a look at what's making business news today.
Bahamas Financial Services Board and Insurance Commission of the Bahamas officials attended the annual International Conference of the Captive Insurance Companies Association held earlier this month in Scottsdale, Arizona. It marked the third time BFSB participated in the 40-year-old conference, which attracts a balance of captive owners, potential captive owners, captive managers, risk managers, service providers, and domicile regulators and officials from all over the world. The Ministry of Finance reminding business owners to submit financial results to the Financial Secretary by the end of the month with payment of the relevant business license tax. Unless arrangements have been made to pay the outstanding amounts, they will only be in compliance with the Act, and a business tax compliance receipt will only be issued if all taxes due and payable under the Real Property Tax Act have been paid for their property or premises. In international business, Walt Disney has said it expects to lose $200 million on its movie John Carter, making it one of the biggest flops in cinema history. The film about a military captain transported to Mars could result in an $80 to $120 million loss for Disney's movie business during the current quarter. Remember, you can send us an email or join us on www.znsbahamas.com or become our friend on ZNS's official Facebook page.
And that will end tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Thanks so much for watching.